Hello and welcome back to Building with the Boys and Merry Christmas. Now, I know what you might be thinking, where's the Christmas decorations, Building with the Boys? I can't see them. Well, I filmed this in November. And the reason why is because I know how hectic life gets at Christmas and how crazy and manic it gets, which is what this is today. For each week of December, we'll be advising, suggesting, if you will, an alternative Christmas movie. Because you can have a lot rammed down your throat over the next 31 days. For everything from 50 versions of A Christmas Carol to all those terrible Lifetime movies of some businesswoman going back to her small town and hooking up with an old flame in, you know, a small town Christmas. That garbage. Well, I actually love Christmas movies, but not your regular fare. There are some fantastic ones out there. You just got to go looking under rocks to find them. Which brings me perfectly on to Black Christmas. So the first one we're going to be talking about is Black Christmas, the 1974 Black Christmas. Not this one from 2006. And definitely not this one from 2018. Those are the two, frankly, terrible remakes of the original 1974, which is this one. You can see the tagline on that is, if this picture doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight. And it really is a beautiful description of what this movie is. It's a scary movie, but more than anything, it's a creepy movie. It's got an air of menace to it, this film, it really has, and it will make your skin crawl. It is massively overlooked. It's one of those movies that very few people have actually seen, and if they have, they don't really remember, because what happens with this one is it gets mixed up with other movies. And there's a good reason for that. John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween is regarded as the first slasher movie that sort of birthed that entire genre, when it isn't. The very first one is this one, Black Christmas. 1974's Black Christmas is definitely the first slasher movie. And if you watch it, you'll see what I'm saying. A lot of what appears in Black Christmas, suspiciously similar to the 1978 Halloween. Now, legend goes that Bob Clark, who directed this, had a conversation with John Carpenter about a potential sequel to Black Christmas and what it would look like. And Bob Clark says, well, I'd have a killer return to a house at Halloween. Whether that conversation took place, I don't know, but then 1978 Halloween comes along. So what's Black Christmas about? Well, Black Christmas stars Olivia Hussey, who at the time, she was a British actress. She'd just been in kind of the seminal version for its day of Romeo and Juliet, so she was very much the pure queen. She was beautiful, Olivia Hussey, she really was, and she's stunningly beautiful, gorgeous accent, looks amazing in this film. This is her in the movie. Olivia Hussey is a university student, a college student, and lives in a sorority house with her 3 friends, and also they have a house mistress, which again shows the age of the movie, and this was somebody who was basically a chaperone that lived in the house with you. And it's set literally 2-3 days before Christmas, so the girls are making their plans to leave and go home for Christmas, which is a key plot device. The movie starts with a tracking shot that you would have seen in Halloween. At the beginning of Halloween, you see through the eyes of Michael Myers as he goes into the house and gets the knife and stabs his sister. Well, again, the beginning of this one, you see a point of view of somebody walking through the snow toward the sorority house, and they climb the grate outside the house into the attic, and that's where they remain for the majority of the film. So that's what this is about. This is about a deranged killer who has been known as now Billy, hiding in the attic of a sorority house, and picking off the girls one by one. But it's not that simple. It's a lot more complicated than that. He makes phone calls, so he's able to get one of the phones up into the attic, and he's making calls from inside the house. Again, these are staples that have been used in other films, but this was the first one to do it. So there was Hider in the House did this. There was He Knows You're Alone. There were a lot, and yeah, this is the one that did it. So you often hear the story of the babysitter receiving phone calls from upstairs, and then people say, I've seen a film where that happens. They've probably seen this movie, and that's where it comes from. But the calls are grotesque. I mean, they are genuinely disturbing, because it goes from singing nursery rhymes, things like that, to you tried to piece together who it is up in the attic, and he constantly refers to himself as Billy. And something happened between him and Agnes. Now, it's never revealed who Agnes is, whether Agnes was his younger sister or Agnes was some girl, but very disturbing phone calls where he's doing multiple voices, and one of them is he's his father, and it's what your mother and I need to know is Billy is, where is Agnes? Oh, Jesus. And it gets properly creepy. Anyway, Billy ups his game and he starts picking off the sorority girls. But what's clever about it is because they're going home for Christmas, there's an assumption the girls have just gone home for Christmas. They're not being picked off. And it's that. You don't really see anything. I mean, that's kind of the genius of this movie, is it's not a scary mask, it's not blood and gore, and it's just menacing, and it's knowing that he's there, and it's like watching a shark under the waves where you can see the shark, but the person in the water can't, and you know it's coming. And it's a really, really disturbing movie, but it's so good, and it's done so well. And I think a major part of this is the fact that you don't get a backstory to Billy. There's no reason he's doing this. There's no reason he chose this house. It just happens to be a house. There's no reason for him to go after these specific girls. He has no motive, which makes him all the more scarier. There's no reasoning with this. There's no, this is why he's doing it, or there's nothing. There's enough where you can try and piece together a backstory for him. You can try and understand why he's doing it, but no reason. He just kind of likes to. You know, he's batshit mental, and this is what he enjoys to do. And it becomes a whodunit. So is Billy in the attic actually somebody else? Is part of this. And as the calls sort of intensify and another body is found in a park, the girls report this to the police, and they decide they're going to try and track the call. But in a very old-fashioned way. So now it's like, you know, you can track a call immediately. But back then they literally tracked the call. So they would watch the cylinders turn, and there's a scene in it where you see the cop trying to trace the call through the call center, which is kind of a throwback to that era. And it's incredible. It really is. The way they use framing in this is amazing as well, because you never really get a good look at Billy. You just see bits of him, but you never know where those bits are going to come from. So all of a sudden, off camera, a hand will just come up from somewhere, and you're like, Jesus. And it's done really well. But everything about it, it's just, even though it's Christmas, everything about it's really creepy. I mean, this is the house. Even the house itself looks kind of creepy. In Britain, we have a tradition of ghost stories at Christmas, which I appreciate. If you're not from the UK, that might sound a bit weird. And even if you're under a certain age in the UK, this is somewhat of a lost tradition. But a ghost story at Christmas was something that the BBC over here showed every year. So there was always a scary story shown on Christmas Eve. And that goes back from a tradition of reading ghost stories on Christmas Eve, which again sounds weird. But if you're into ghost stories, I promise you, the best time to ever read one, listen to one, or watch one, Christmas Eve night. House is all quiet, everyone's all tucked up in bed, you got a fire going, it's windy, snowy outside. It's a perfect time for a spooky story. And this is a ghost story. I mean, not in the traditional sense, but Billy himself, even though is human and alive, has all the characteristics of a ghost. Because no one sees him, they don't know he's there, he's silent, and he's moving around amongst them, and they're not aware he's there. And it's just ominous. And it's a good example of what Alfred Hitchcock gave a good example of. He said a lot of filmmakers mistake surprise for suspense. And he used an analogy of a time bomb, where he says, if there's a time bomb under a table, he said, and what you see is two guys playing cards at a table, and all of a sudden a bomb explodes. The audience didn't know that bomb was there. So they're surprised. It's a jump scare. It's a cheap scare. It's easy. So all you've done is you've shocked them for a second, and that's it. And he said, but You do a long shot and you see two guys sitting at a table playing cards, and we, the audience, can see the bomb and these guys can't. We can see the clock ticking down and we know what's going to happen, to the point where the tension ratchets up and the suspense is there, and you want to say to the guys, stop playing cards, a bomb is about to go off, move. But all we can do is sit and watch it unfold. And that is exactly what happens in Black Christmas. We, as the audience, know he's in the house. We know he's there. We know he's hiding in the attic. And we know that he's going to go after these girls. To the point where you want to say to him, don't go up the stairs. Don't go. And you know, so even when the moment comes and the cop calls Olivia Hussey and he says, get out of the house, the calls are coming from inside the house. It's not a revelation to us. We know. But it's the, now she knows, and it's like, now we know that it's all going to unfold. And my God, the last 15 minutes of this movie, again, if it doesn't scare the crap out of you, there's something wrong with you. I won't give it away. I won't spoil any of the scenes, but again, the framing is perfect. There is a scene when Olivia Hussey finally kind of realizes what's been happening, and she sees Billy, kind of. It's magnificent. It's really good. I can't recommend this movie enough, and it is dark. I mean, this is not, we're not talking Elf or anything like that, or anything feel good. This is a dark ass movie, but my God, is it a good one. So if you're looking for an alternative film for Christmas that is a Christmas movie, this is the one you got to go for. And funnily enough, if you're familiar with A Christmas Story, which is massive in America, it's not so well known over here in the UK. I mean, I love it, with the leg lamp and Fragile and Ralphie, and You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. And the sequel's coming out this year, A Christmas Story Christmas. It's directed by the same guy, believe it or not. So the same guy that directed A Christmas Story, that much loved family Christmas movie, 7 years earlier, directed this real nasty movie that was kind of hated when it was released. It was the first sort of horror movie to be released at Christmas, and it got savaged. They were like, you don't do this at Christmas. You totally do this at Christmas. Because some of us don't want all the saccharine. Some of us want something a little edgier. And this is a great one. You can watch this movie for free on YouTube. So if you type in Black Christmas 1974 into YouTube, you can find the movie. Enjoy it. And let me know what you thought about it if it's the first time watching it. That's all for this one. We'll be back next week with another alternative Christmas movie recommendation. Until then, be nice.